Hello and welcome everybody. So today we are going to be talking about what I read in April. But before I jump into what I read in April, I am actually going to give you guys two highlights from March because I don't know if anyone noticed, but I never put up a video for my March reads. And that's because while I read 19 books in March, ranging from all size lengths, like some were short stories, some were bigger books. It actually wasn't like a really good reading month. There was like at least 6 DNFs, and then a lot of them were like 2-star, 1-star, 3-star kind of deals, and there was really only 2 books that were like super big 5 stars, and I didn't really feel like making a video. Like normally I don't have any issues making videos talking about books that I don't like because I am constructive when I talk about things that I don't like. But during April there was just a lot of authors just trash talking reviewers, and it just really took me out of wanting to put out anything of how I feel about books. So that's why I ended up never making the video, because it would have probably been seen as mostly negative, which I mean, there are people who love videos like that, but I was in a pretty negative headspace, But yeah, so these are the two highlights that I have from March. The first one being 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. I absolutely loved this book, and that says a lot for me because I struggle really hard with YA. There are so many books in YA that have such an intriguing story idea, but the execution always lacks for me. A lot of them tend to follow the same exact formula where it's meet the girl, chapter 3 she meets her love interest, by chapter 5 everything revolves around the love interest, and then oh yeah, there's a plot. And so I struggle very, very hard with YA, but like I said, so many themes and ideas sound so interesting, and this was one of them, so I was very hesitant. But I came out 5 stars. 5 stars. I love this book so much. I love the characters. I loved the plot and her trying to rescue her brothers while also trying to not kill them, accidentally. There's no real, at this point, I don't know what romantic storyline is going to end up going forward, because I don't have the second book right now, but I do plan on reading it. I don't know where that's going, but the main guy that she's engaged to, I love him with all of my heart. He is a sweetheart. He is the golden retriever, and I've never been into the brooding shadow daddies. So, and the thing is I want to just reiterate that I don't see him as a love interest for myself. I just love him as a character because these are teenagers and I'm not a creepo. But I loved his character because just seeing a softer male love interest was honestly just so nice. I honestly think so much of our books that have love interests are just, they're oversaturated with the brooding, grumpy, shadow daddy idea. We need more softer men. Okay? And that's what I really liked about him. But what really got me honestly was the plot between what's our main character's name? I forget. Shiori. Between Shiori and her stepmother. That was honestly just the best plot, especially when you get towards the end and everything. I was a crying hot mess towards the end of this, and then once I finished it, I was I am so mad I don't have the second book. So at some point I plan on getting the second book because I really do want to see where it goes next. But yeah, definitely 5 stars, and I was so glad to be blown away because this cover art is gorgeous, and I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to love it just so I could keep the book for that alone. But now that I know it's got a beautiful story and beautiful cover art, now I feel fine keeping it for real. The other 5-star is One Salt Sea by Shannon McGuire, this is book, I think it's 6. I think I don't have the information written next to me, but I think it's book 6 in the October Day series. It's either 5 or 6, one of the two. And once again, loved it. Absolutely blown away by it. There was a couple of storylines involving one of the men that I was like, ew, I don't like this. But then when the end happened, I was like, well, I didn't want that to happen either. I just didn't want what was happening, but this is a little extreme. I was a little taken aback, and I was like, hold on, pump the brakes, stop. Shannon is not afraid to kill people. I'm just gonna let you guys know. Like, she is not afraid to kill off important characters who you've known for a while, and I'm just like, oh my god. But again, full of action and mystery. And I love Toby so much. She is definitely one of my favorite, like, female characters of, like, all time. I just really love her. And, when she messes up, she messes up. Like, it happens. Like, but I also love that we got to explore more about some of the other bigger characters that are involved in the series. And we're just starting to see more and more, like, unfold about Toby's place in this world and everybody else and just how things work. But yeah, I was a crying mess in it again. I think at this point I've cried in every single one of these books. So, and the thing is like, you can have me like cry a little bit, but if you turn me into like a sobbing hot mess, like that's a 5-star read for me, like, period. So yeah, those are my 2 big major highlights from March. So now moving into April. In April, I had only put together a TBR of 6 or 7 books. And I ended up reading 9 books. But also, I'm going to let you guys know that my reading honestly took a back seat in April because my obsession with Fallout reemerged. I actually came into Fallout late. I came about 2 years ago. I played Fallout 4 and I fell in love with it, and just, oh my god, it's just such an amazing game. And then in April, Amazon dropped the Fallout show, and I was like, pump the brakes, reading, you have to stop. You're going on the back burner. I gotta watch this show. And I watched it, and it reignited my, like, love for it. And I was like, I gotta play the game some more. And then there was, like, updates, and they had sales on the DLCs, and I was like, oh, I gotta buy them. So, yeah, a lot of my reading took a major backseat because my obsession, like, re-kicked in, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to focus on Fallout and video games right now. So I ended up not reading, so we'll go through. I have the books here except for one, and I frankly don't want to go get it because I'm already sitting down. So I did not start The Blighted Stars by Megan E. O'Keefe. Just never got around to it. So I'm just going to, put that one back into the TBR jar, and we'll try again at another date. Next after that, I attempted to read Winter's Orbit. As you notice, I said attempted, and that is because I DNF'd it. I DNF'd around chapter 8, so that's about 86 pages into the book. I was honestly just bored. When I bought this a couple years back, the sales associate at Barnes & Noble was like, it's a space opera with like a slice of romance, and she's a liar. She's a liar. This is a romance with a slice of space, like, and I honestly was finding the romance aspect very boring. Like, I wanted there to be like a plot alongside the romance, and like I asked other people, and a lot of people were like, well, the plot is basically like the romance, and I was like, oh, and I was just bored and I wasn't enjoying it, and so I decided to go ahead and DNF it. So at some point I will be removing this book from my bookcases, so oh well. And then I started The Ninth Reign. I started it, and I am enjoying it, but as you can see, I didn't start this till like the end of the month. I want to say probably like 3 days before the month ended was when I had finally started this one, and I do like what I've read so far. That prologue is wow, like, I'm reading through it and I'm like, oh, how cute. Look at these little friends. Oh my God. Like, I was not expecting that. And so, like, it's one of those things where, like, I don't know if a lot of you guys have ever seen, like, people constantly, like, argue, like, why don't you read prologues? You should read prologues. I'm a prologue skipper. Like, this is why I will never skip a prologue. Because you just never know what's going to be in the prologue. And this was one of those prologues where I was like, okay. So, yes, I will be continuing with this one. And I am enjoying it. But I do plan on taking my time since it is a big chunker, but also I'm tired of like feeling like I rush through reading everything. So yeah, I'm just gonna like take my time with it. Then I also did start In the Forest of Surrey by Patricia A. McKillop. Again, I never finished it, and it's not because I wasn't like, because I love Patricia, you guys know this, like, she's my girl. I got distracted with my video games. So I did start it. I plan on finishing her this month, especially considering I have like 3 other Patricias to read this month. So it's going to just be a Patricia month. Then I read Thrones and Bones, Frostborn. I finished this one. I actually audiobooked this one. It is a middle grade, like, Viking inspired kind of tale. The thing that I enjoyed most about this one though was how the author was able to utilize playing but playing board games, because obviously there's no video games in this time period. But it's the way that he utilized board games, because the main boy, what's his name? I forget. I'm so good at remembering names sometimes, but like I just get so much stuff in my head. That's not them. Theana is the girl. What is the boy's name? Karn. That's his name. I'm like, I got pages full of names, and I was like, that's not the main boy. But Karn. So Karn likes to play this little board game. You know, it's like chess, basically. Like, that's the best way for me to explain it. It's like chess. He likes to play it. And everyone's always giving him crap about it and everything, including his dad, because he's like, oh, you have to, like, take over the family business, like, quit playing games, like, this stuff does nothing for your future, like, this is a waste of your time. And Karn actually proves how it actually helps him get him out of situations, like fighting zombies and dragons and things like that, and he utilizes the knowledge from his game on like how to like set up a fight, basically a strategy, and is able to deploy that into like real life. And I think that's really cool, because even in today's society, like, we have a lot of parents that are like, video games are pointless, they don't do anything, and I'm like, that actually can actually help with hand-eye coordination. And I love that the author like included that in this story, that hey, games can actually be helpful and can be used in a real life situation. So this is a trilogy. I only own the first book, but I do plan on continuing it because it was fun. I did enjoy it. I do want to see where Theana's story goes, because she's like a half frost giant, half human, and like there's some mystery involving her mother and dealing with they're basically like Roman people, like, you know, just like a fantasy version. So I am interested to seeing where that goes, and plus I want to see more how like Karn like grows as a character, and if the two meet back up and how. So yeah, definitely a very fun one. Very much enjoyed it. Then after that, I read The Secret of Dreadwillow Carse. I did finish this one as well. I realized I just leave bookmarks and everything, so I did finish this. I promise, I did. But this is another one. I audiobooked it. It's cute. It's good. It's nothing like really memorable, honestly. It just, yeah, I don't really have too many thoughts on it. The characters, like, they were cute, but like I said, there's nothing really memorable about it. Like, when I look at it, I'm just kind of like, there was a place they couldn't get into, and it involved, like, at the end, like, the girl, like, had to make, like, this big grand decision that all of her ancestors prior to her had to make, and, you know, just, I don't know. It was good. It's definitely not one of the middle grades I plan on holding on to, so, yeah, it was alright. And then, of course, I finished Demon Lord of Coranda. This is book 3 of the Malorian by David Eddings. So when I finished The King of Murgos, which was book 2, I was really mad at the end, because how dare Eddings try and destroy my favorite friendship in the book? he fixed it in this one, but still, I'm really mad that he put me through those feelings, because like I've said before, I don't read these for the plot because the plot is just so convoluted, and like dry and drawn out, but the characters, I really love so many of the characters in these books. So when he like put that friendship on the rocks, I was like, excuse you, sir? But he fixed it, so I'm not as mad anymore. And then the end was honestly pretty explosive. Lots of things going on, but again, the main like portion of the story, which is getting back a child, just doesn't feel like it's important to anyone. And I'm just like, God! So that's kind of annoying. And then also, I really still continue to hate like the direction that he has gone with Sinedra's character. Like, she's just like a lump on a log half the time, who's just like, well, it's me, I'm so sad. And I'm just like, can you be awesome like once? Like something. So and it's so weird to me because like he does so well with Aunt Pole's character, and I'm just like, why? Like, I never liked Sinedra in the Belgrade, but like, come on. So yeah, I do plan on continuing. I have 2 more left in the series, so I'm almost done. And it's like a 3-star overall. That's just like how I view them. But like I said, I'm just interested in the characters and the crazy things the characters do and say and act, and just, the plot. If it plotted, I'd be interested. But at this point, it's just the characters. They keep me going. And then after that, I read The Spite House by Johnny Compton, I believe. I don't own a copy. I got it from the library. This one, it was like a 3-star for me. And my biggest issue was the end just didn't feel satisfying, because there were so many different like strands of like stories going on and backstories for the different characters. And I felt like there was a lot of things that weren't answered. There was a lot of things where when it was answered, I didn't like think it was like that great of an answer. And I just felt dissatisfied with the overall ending. And then on top of that, the house that they were like living in, the Spite House, everyone kept talking about like how it was like haunted and how it like did these terrible things. But like getting the chance to actually see the house do them really wasn't present in the book. And this is like the 3rd time that I've come across this in a haunted house book, where everyone just talks about the house being haunted and you never actually get to see the characters like kind of like deal with it being haunted. Like there was like maybe a scene or 3 where you got to see it, but nothing really like that like jumped at you like, oh my God, that's wow, like the characters are really going through it. Like it always felt more so of just people like telling stories about the house. So that was kind of a letdown too. And then the last book I read is Tomorrow's Children by Daniel Polanski. And this is an experience. This book is a straight up experience, okay? Like, even me giving it a rating is really difficult. Like, I settled around, like, a 3.5 because, like, I was so intrigued that I was like, I have to keep going. But also, it is one of the most, like, for me, it was a very difficult book to read because it's a post-apocalyptic world and people have obviously changed, like, the way they talk and everything. And so sometimes the way the characters were talking with their future dystopian dialect, I was like, I have no idea what happened in this conversation because I don't know what any of these words mean. And it would take like detective work to like really just get in there and try and figure out what they were saying. So when you first start the book, it's very difficult and you're just like, what are these people saying? But then like the further you get into it, the more you start to become like adjusted to like the words and the dialects and everything, and you're like, okay, like I'm starting to get it. But then after a while I was like, what is the plot? Like, what's going on here? And then I was finally able to start seeing like the threads of the plot, and I was like, okay, someone's trying to overthrow like another gang basically, because it's like all these different gangs in this post-apocalyptic world and everybody's got like their territory, and then like this new guy comes in called the Kid and he just starts like chaos. And then you start getting like, well, who is the Kid? Where does he come from? Why does he think he can do this? And then there's like this mist that's like over the city or whatever that's like instantaneously like kills people, and you're just like, how does all of this connect? And then there's just like there's emojis throughout the book, because like places are named with like emojis. So to be like, we're going to the smiley face donkey tavern, and you're just like, am I supposed to call that the smiley face donkey, or does that actually mean something? Because some of the emojis actually did mean something, but like we weren't actually like told like what they mean. And so like a lot of times I get to the parts with the emojis and I would just like, my eyes would just skip over them because I did not know how to like translate that into like reading. So that was really frustrating. Like I really didn't like that part, and I really wish that had not been included, but like I get it. Like it's kind of like a hieroglyphic kind of thing, but I just don't think that part of the story was like really executed well, because I was just like, is this the smiling donkey boots? Like where are we going? Like I don't, like, is this Love Bomb? What is this? There was also some chapters that they just honestly had nothing to do with the overall story plot. Like if I had a nickel for every time a woman bit off a man's whoop, that I'd have 2 nickels. I'd have 2 nickels, but that's kind of crazy. But the chapter had nothing to do with the overall story, but it was there. You know, and then there's just like a lot of characters who you like it's just like pure chaos in like written form, because like the characters are just like killing each other, and they're taking drugs, and they're talking about sex, and I was just like, what is happening in here? And I had to keep reading because I wanted to see like where it was going. And it's an experience, you know? And you're just like, what? Like I said, like I don't even know how to like properly like rate it and review it, because like by the time I was done, I was just like, what happened in this? Like what like talking to my best friend about it, like what's this? And she was like, girl, I don't know, but you told me all about it. And I was like, you're right, I did. I will say there was one character that I did like through the entire book, because he was just hilarious, because he was just like, I want to run around and beat people up, I just want to fight people, yeah. And I was like, this is your goal in life? And then he ended up being like slightly philosophical towards the end. So yeah, like it just ended up being the craziest little experience. And it's one of those books where I can't tell people don't read it, but I can't tell them you need to read it. It's just you know what, if you come across it and you want to give it a try, give it a try. You're either going to read it to see what is happening and try and understand it, or you're going to be like, this is just too weird, I'm out. That's what Tomorrow's Children is. Like I have come to the conclusion that I can count on Angry Robot to release the weirdest books, okay? And I appreciate them for that, because I love weird books. And, you know, I may have not been blown away by it, but I at least had an interesting and fun experience reading it. So that's the overall of my reading for April, and little highlights from March and everything. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.